live now, yeah?
We are live.
Hi!
And I've turned my tones off. So we're good today. You know, like...
But you know you need to talk louder because I don't think they can hear us.
Oh, and the foot. Okay. Right. Here we go.
Here we go.
Oh my lord. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I was watching the videos back, a couple of them, and I was seeing how...
You actually watched them?
No, not all of them, like bits and pieces of them.
Okay.
But I say the same thing in every one, and I'm so animated. I'm like, hey, how you doing, everybody? But then I'm like, that's just me. Can't help it.
Yeah, you can help it, but you don't want to help it. You're happy just being you, and that's just who you are. So, yeah. Who said it to me one time? Were they talking about my son or me? Or we're both in the same bracket, and they're like, oh, tell me you should have seen Mose like the other day. Oh my God, he was so animated. And I was like,
yeah, doesn't get it from the wind.
I don't know where he gets that from.
You smell nice.
You have such a thing for smell.
I know.
But you know what, I'll tell you, I do make an effort when I come here. Because I know the
Hi.
Oh, rub your tooth, you got something in it.
Gone?
Well, it's just, I don't want to point to it, it's just, you're there.
And then I look at the camera, because of course everyone else seems to see it.
Oh no, it's still there.
Is it in that
Oh,
one?
it's gone.
Is it?
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay, awesome.
We just talk about that for a second. You know when you meet somebody and they've got like lipstick on their tooth, or they got something on their face, or their skirt is tucked in, and like, do you tell them or do you not? What do you do?
Of course, tell them.
You tell them.
Yeah, I was in karate the last night and something had happened. I hadn't taken my mascara off the night before, and one of the other girls in karate came over and we were sweating buckets, and she just looked at me and she goes, rub under your eye. I was like, oh brilliant, thanks. So I didn't take it offensively. I wasn't like, how dare you tell me that I didn't look perfect. I was like, oh, that's great. I also didn't care that it was there because I was sweating buckets.
Yeah.
But it was nice that she did, and she didn't hesitate. She didn't like worry about what she was going to say or how I was going to take it. Yeah. It was real girl code, you know, I'm just going to tell you what you need to sort yourself out.
But I really appreciate that.
Me too. Like,
I was invited to a party one night, and well, myself and my husband, and it was fancy dress, and I had red lipstick on, but I have Invisaligns at the moment, Invisaligns. And anyways, I realised then you don't wear strong lipstick when you wear them because they kind of catch on to the Invisalign, right? So anyway, I was really nervous about going anyway because I didn't know these people, and I got caught up chatting to these women, and it's kind of women that we're always trying to impress, and it's women that we worry about. Well, I do anyway, and because I can handle the men.
That's great.
But anyways, I know we're going totally off the topic, right? But I was chatting away and I was really nervous, and I just didn't know these people. Now, I knew one of them a little bit. We're chatting away and we're like, blah, 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 blah. And I held back a little bit from talking because I don't normally talk that much. And the girl turned around and she was like, oh, they were talking about Invisalign. And they're like, oh, have you got Invisalign? Da, 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 da. And we're just chatting about that. And I was like, yeah, I'm talking about how good it was. And then one of them that I knew kind of goes this. And I was like, and then I got really conscious then, so I was like, I'm just going to go to the toilet. I was thinking to myself. So I went off the toilet. Oh my God.
Covered.
Oh my God. I looked like I had just eaten a gorilla or something, and I was like, all red. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like I already worried about what they were thinking anyway.
And then, none of the rest of them, nobody else had said it.
They didn't even tell me, and why would they even be talking about my feckin' Invisalign when, like, oh my God, like, do you know? And I ain't coming out in a hot sweat now even thinking about it, you know. Went to the bathroom, I just took them off, and I was like, that was absolutely mortifying. Like, so mortifying. And like, why don't you say, oh, don't even talk to you about my teeth if I got something on them, you know, like, don't highlight the fact.
Yeah, just say it.
Yeah.
And then move on.
Yeah. Oh, you must have missed line. Oh, your lipstick stuck to your teeth. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm like, okay, I'm mortified. I'll just quickly whip them out now or whatever. But yesterday I was in a certain coffee shop in town. I'm not going to say which one, just in case the lady's watching, which I know she won't anyway, because it's a different generation. And she just happened to walk past me, but she had a lump of tissue stuck just at the tail end of her jeans, above the crotch of her bum. And I was like, oh God. And anyway, so she sat down, we finished our lunch, and then I went up to her. Now I knew this woman, but she didn't recognize me. And she was in company, and I just bent over and I whispered, and I was like, I said first, sorry, I'm so sorry. And I spoke to her and I was like, just to let you know, you got a bit of tissue in the top part of your trousers, just where like the lip of your trousers is, you know, the top. And she goes, all right. And then she pulled out this lump. She goes, oh, thanks so much. Oh my God, I'm sure everybody saw it. And I'm like, no, I'm sure they didn't. I don't know if they saw it or not, but I don't think they did. I said, you know, I just want to let you know because, you know,
yeah,
we do
girl code.
And she's like, thanks very much. And I was like, you're welcome. And off we went.
See,
but
it's
I was
so
kind
easy,
of,
though.
but in that moment, you were letting her feel the embarrassment. Do you know what I mean? But it could have fallen off and she might have never known, and that could have been fine.
Better her feel the embarrassment with one person who cares than not know about the embarrassment and have people talk about it, because people can be really mean.
Yeah.
So like that with you with the lipstick on your teeth, you know, people can be like, oh, see, you're one and she's lipstick all over, and you're like, it's so childish.
Yeah. Like I was a bit conscious saying to you, because we're live, Ciara, you got something.
You should know me better than that.
I know, but then you see, because you be telling me la 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 la.
Can you even see my love?
And then you might have looked back at your video going, oh my god, I got something. Why didn't Emma just tell me? And then we're live, and now the 4 people that are on.
To be fair, I probably wouldn't have even noticed. That brings us nicely around to boundaries.
Are we going to talk about that this week?
Do you want to?
No, we'll leave that till next week.
Thanks for telling me, because I put it into the video.
Well, I know that I was meant to say.
Shocker.
I was meant to say that, so we might delete the boundaries off, because you got so much talk about with the hidden illnesses.
Oh,
yeah. I'm practicing my phonics for my kids at home.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So we're not doing boundaries. We're doing hidden.
We'll do boundaries in next week, possibly. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to pop on this week and talk about hidden illnesses, because I know, and Thelma knows, tons and tons of people in our locality who have various different types of issues. And they're the kind of issues that are sometimes seen as fake, false, not real, attention seeking.
Physical issues.
Yeah, physical issues that you should really not have any issues with. That shouldn't be that big of a problem, and that are the kind of issues that when you complain about them or you talk about them, people generally tend to go, oh, it's a woman's issue, or it's an issue that's not taken seriously by doctors. I'm not saying that doctors don't take it seriously. I'm saying that other people say doctors don't take it seriously. So my issue, my problem, my situation, or my challenge for my whole life since I was 11 has been endometriosis. And I wanted, myself and Thelma had a chat, and we talked about what we might do today. And I wanted to talk about it because I just had a hectic weekend with it. So I got endometriosis when I was 11, when I started having my periods first. And I didn't know what it was then. So obviously back in the day, that was 1991. And the doctors would have said it was just really bad period pain. And that was it. And just take tablets. So you're looking at taking Panadol, taking Feminax, taking Ponston, all of the usual suspects. And nothing ever worked. But I was always just told that it was bad period pain.
Was there no test for it or anything?
Nothing. It was nothing that was even talked about then. So my parents used to bring me to the doctor, and then they'd bring me home, and they would have heat pads and hot water bottles, the sounds of the dolphins, the sounds of the whales, you name it. There was sounds all over the house. I'd have one rubbing my back and one going to get another hot water bottle. I fainted in the bath. I fainted downstairs. I fainted in the shower. I fainted at work. I passed completely out walking down Westport, walking down Bridge Street. And the pain was just, I was cutting bread in the Cove. Do you remember the Cove restaurant at the top of Bridge Street? I was cutting bread in the back. I worked there in the kitchen. And as I was cutting the bread, I sliced my finger because I passed out, fell. So it was the kind of thing that was like a mystery. And I just thought I was really weird, because I seemed to be the only person that was crippled with these really horrific period pains.
That must have been so scary, especially like if they're telling you it's just period pain. Like for me, I would have thought like, well, oh my God, if it's just period pain, is there something else at play here?
See, I was so young, so I didn't, I've never
think about these things.
And I've never really been the kind of person that would worry about other things that were outside of my control, say health-wise. So I just never knew, but the pain was so bad, it just used to rip. I can't even describe it. For any of the ladies who have been through pregnancy, multiply giving birth by 100 and you still haven't touched the pain.
My goodness.
It's like someone is inside with a chainsaw, and there's another little fella in there. Notice how I said fella. There's another little fella in there with a blowtorch, and there's a few little Chinese acupuncturists in there with some needles that they're shoving outwards. And there's another couple of people in there with some knives, and it's just brutal. It's absolutely rotten. So I went through all my life.
Is that for the whole your whole period cycle? So say for periods 3 days or 6 days. Is that for the whole thing?
Mine used to be 7 days. So for 6 of those 7, I broke tiles in the school. I went into the Sacred Heart School, and the period was so bad that 2 of the male teachers in the school had me held against the wall. They weren't doing it out of badness. There was nothing, sinister going on. They had me held against the wall because I was raging through the school with pain. And I pushed both of the teachers off me, and I went into the bathroom in the toilets, and I broke a tile in the toilet cubicle. I was just overwhelmed with pain. So it went through all my childhood, through my teenage years, and into my adulthood. And it wasn't until I turned 21 that I went for my first laparoscopy. And that was an exciting experience. I was in absolute agony, and I went in and I had this laparoscopy.
What is that, Ciara?
Pardon?
What is laparoscopy?
A laparoscopy is where they go in with a little camera at the end of a tube through your tummy, through just underneath your tummy. And they look all around your organs to see if they can find anything. So cysts or fibroids or anything that's unusual in that area.
So that's like a day case. You do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh.
And when I went in, it was this little old surgeon that did it. A little fella, grey hair, small little man. And I remember,
such a good memory.
Oh my God. I remember him coming in afterwards, and he looked me up and down like I had 20 heads. And he said, well, you're a mystery. There's nothing we can do. You're just going to have to deal with it.
Oh, man.
And I sat on the bed going, I am in absolute agony. It's 2001. I cannot cope with this pain. What are you going to do for me? You're a mystery. Suck it up. So it was back to taking whatever anti-inflammatory or painkillers that I could, and nothing touches it. I mean, nothing touches it. No Brufen, no Difene, no Ponston, no nothing. Nothing touches the pain. So I had my second laparoscopy a year later because I wasn't happy, and I knew that I needed to find something.
In the same place?
Different place.
Okay.
And they didn't find anything. They said that actually what they said was that I had varicose veins in my womb, which I thought was really weird because, of course, I didn't know you could get varicose veins anywhere other than your legs. So varicose veins in my womb, but they couldn't see anything because my womb and my uterus were also inflamed. So they weren't 100% sure that that was what they were seeing.
So were they doing that thing at the time? Were they doing the laparoscopy at the time when you had the pain?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me. And then, so there's another side to this as well. So remind me what you just said there, because that's really important. The third year I had another laparoscopy, and the same thing. They said varicose veins, and they said a lot of swelling in the womb and uterus. And the fourth year I went to a surgeon in Castlebar. Now, as it happened, that surgeon found the pocket of endometriosis, a fairly big pocket, and she said that it was affecting a huge amount of tissue inside my womb, uterus, stomach, around my ovaries, fallopian tubes, everything. So endometriosis is where the lining of the endometrium doesn't shed. And what it does, I describe it.
Sorry, I've been thinking, missed my biology classes or whatever when I was mitching or whatever. So where's the endometrium? So
that's all the lining of the womb.
Okay.
So the way I describe it is, I describe it like seaweed coming up on the sand. You know when the sea comes in and it brings the seaweed with it, and the seaweed latches onto the sand and it drags slowly back. That's how I describe endometriosis, right? So it like has tentacles, and it wraps itself around everything, and it causes all kinds of mad issues. So she said she found this pocket of endometriosis, and she said that the only thing that I could do was have a baby.
What?
I was 24.
What do you mean?
Get pregnant.
Well, what's that going to do?
Well, apparently it gets rid of the symptoms.
For how long?
Well, a few years. I didn't have.
So just have another baby every few years?
Yeah. Just any time the symptoms come up.
Ridiculous.
But it's crazy because you're thinking to yourself, like if I'd gone in at 23 or 22, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a baby at any age. I don't judge, and do what you like. But if it's not in your plan and you walk into a surgeon's office at the age of 22 and you have chronic pain that you've had for your whole life and they say, just have a baby, you need to come up with a different solution. You know, you really need to come up with a different solution.
Mind you, things might have moved on hopefully since then.
Well, actually, they haven't really. There is surgery that you can. I'll get to that anyway. So at 24, have this pocket of endometriosis, and then the surgeon actually perforated the back wall of my uterus. So put a little hole in the back wall of my uterus and came to me and told me there's a 99.9% chance you can't have kids.
Because of what you did?
Yeah. So as it is, endometriosis can cause infertility. Now, it's not a definite, it's not a guarantee, but it's just one of the things that they say. So combining that to the fact that she's just told me it's a 99% chance I can't have kids, I was like, if I wasn't in the mind frame that I was in, you know, the potential for going out, just running out and trying to get pregnant straight away would have been high on my list of priorities. But thankfully it wasn't, and I was in a good headspace.
Jesus, Ciara.
I know,
even like say the mental exhaustion and everything goes on mentally with that, and emotionally with all the stuff that's going on, and then to add hormonal changes in your body to the mix with having a baby and all with that, and then do you have support mechanisms with that, and do you have a partner? Do you not? Like, oh my God, that's absolutely crazy stuff.
Well, it's like that. I posted a video the other day, and I'm hoping that some of you watched it. It was by a Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, and it was about the effects of child adversity on long-term health. And one of the things she spoke on was the fight or flight syndrome or system in our bodies. And it's so amazingly perfect when it's utilized in the right situation. So the way she described it was, if you're in a woods and a bear decides that it's going to attack you, you have the opportunity and the option that you can flight, run away, or you can fight the bear, but you have the option. When you're in a situation where you have repeated stress, compounded stress over and over again, so for example, chronic pain and chronic fatigue, something like endometriosis, something like any sort of a situation where you don't have the opportunity to run away, what happens with your flight or fight syndrome or system is that it doesn't work for your health. It hinders your health, and it can do an awful lot long term because your body is in a stressed response for such a long period of time.
So many side effects from having constant stress.
Huge amounts. So I got pregnant with Josh at 26, and that was fantastic. And boom, all the symptoms were gone.
They were.
I gave birth to Josh, and I did not have another symptom for years. It was such an amazing blessing.
Is that just because that was one case? Like, obviously you don't expect people to go out there now and all get pregnant.
No, not at all. Well, you see, I don't know, I'm only me, so I can't say. A lot of people that I would have spoken to would have said, yeah, their symptoms went away when they gave birth, but the symptoms can come back.
And did you have pain throughout your pregnancy in that?
I was sick from week 6.
With the endometrial?
No, with all,
just pregnancy.
Because of the uterus, because of the weak uterus after she had stuck a hole in it.
Oh, jeez.
And I ended up with what's it called? If anybody is watching, Helena, you might be able to say, we'll go through these in a minute. A dermoid cyst. I had a dermoid cyst, and I had issues with different parts of my womb and my uterus. A dermoid cyst is a cyst that has hair, nails, teeth, and skin.
Oh my God, you told me that before. What do you mean like teeth?
Teeth. So I was like, am I growing, alien?
They were like, in my mouth.
No, they said just things can break down and form inside this pocket. It's not a human, it's not anything, it's just bits. It's not anything together, like it's just bits of stuff.
That's the most bizarre thing.
I was like, that's gross. And I said, do I have to have it taken out? Thanks, Helena. I said, do I have to have it taken out? And they were like, no, we're going to monitor it because it's quite big. We're going to monitor it, and hopefully it'll pass when you give birth, or it'll break itself down. And I was like, so I'm just meant to wait? So they're very, they don't explain things really well in the hospital when you're pregnant, but that's actually a video that there's a load around that. Anyway, so I gave birth, everything was fine. The dermoid cyst had broken down and dissipated and gone. So then I had this beautiful baby, and I had no pain. So I've had a miracle and I have no pain. Double miracle, life is awesome.
Oh my God.
For 6 years.
For 6 years? That's
6 years.
Amazing.
Oh my God, it was the best 6 years
because
ever.
Could you imagine if you had that pain and had a baby, like a newborn?
Oh, it'd be crippling.
But like how exhausted you are as a first time mother, and then to have like all that pain on top of that.
Totally. You'd just be crippled. It would have been bonkers. So you can imagine my gratitude around the fact of not having that. And it really, it meant that I could have such an amazing relationship with Josh, which I did, because we were together for the first 3 years solidly, right? Just the two of us. So then the pains started coming back, and I'm really in tune with my body, so I can tell when I ovulate, I can feel it. I can feel the egg drop. And it's mostly on the right side. My friend is like that too, and she says that one side is her creative side and one side is her like wiry side, and she knows by how how she's feeling on the day or on the week leading up, like which side is she's going to it's going to come out. It's
and
brilliant.
And we might maybe discuss that in another video about how it's so important to actually tune into our own bodies. I know we touch on it every now and again, but that's just nuts. I have no idea. I just think, a bit of a pain there, maybe, but sure, I have so much pain anyway. So that's my video for Friday. But anyway. Well, this one I can feel, like I can actually feel the egg move. What?
and drop. I can feel every part of it. Oh, and it's rotten. And the right side is always more painful than the left.
Sorry. How heavy are your eggs?
Gold, baby. They are pure gold.
Jesus Christ.
So with that comes a lot of interesting feelings, and I always know the sorer that the ovulation is, that the sorer the endometriosis flare-up is going to be. So so that would happen regularly. So 1 month would be really bad, 1 month I'd get a bit of a reprieve, then 1 month I wouldn't know what was about to happen. So there was no pattern.
Oh, is that because you ovulate from a different ovary every month?
And I think it was because I had Josh, so it had changed my internal makeup anyway.
So if you were ovulating, let's say, on your right ovary, that was causing pain, that every second month then?
Potentially, if there was a pattern. Oh, but there was no pattern initially.
Okay.
And then I started to track my periods, and I started to really focus on, I have a period tracker on my phone. I can't show you now. It's a little pink flower with a white and yellow circle. And I started to track it about 4 or 5 years ago. And I tracked every single month. So I knew that my cycle was 23 days. So some months I'd have 2 periods.
23 days?
23 days. Yeah, every 23 days.
Jeez, mine's 32.
Yeah, sometimes I wish mine was a little longer so I didn't have 2 in the 1 month. But this weekend, so the pain has been increasingly getting worse. And I just thought, it might level off and it might stay at this level. And I can manage it. I can manage it when it gets to a certain stage. I'm knackered. It really drains me. It takes it out of me. And people don't understand that. So they think, well, it's just a period. Doesn't everyone have them? There's 175 million women in the world that have endometriosis. That's massive. And there is no cure. Winning. I mean, that's just bonkers to me. But this weekend, it came in like a train. Oh my God.
You wouldn't think about looking at you today now, Ciara.
Thankfully. There's no mascara.
We should show you what you look like. Yeah.
I'll take a picture and post it. But on Friday evening, I did a workshop, a Kundalini yoga workshop. And it was fantastic. And I have a feeling that maybe because it was really intense, it was 3 hours and 20 minutes. Oh man, it was not what I prepared for. It was amazing, but it was intense on a whole other level. So Friday, because I wasn't I wasn't ready for my period. I hadn't actually looked at my phone. I thought that I was like a day or 2 early. Friday night into Saturday morning, the pain started, and my poor son, thank God, he's known about periods for a very, very long time. There's only me and him in the house, so it is what it is. And
that's an important fact though as well, when you have young kids, and it doesn't matter if they're boys or girls.
Oh yeah.
Learn from it. Mine are 4 and 5 and they know about my periods. Mom's got a pad on, she's got a period. Yeah. Even our dog, she's 6 months, or no, she's 8 months old now. And my kids be like, oh mom, look, Joy had her period, see on the floor there. And it's just so natural.
It's normal, yeah. It's when you take away all the weirdness out of it, then it's just totally normal.
Sorry, carry on.
No, you're fine. So Josh knows all about it, and he sleeps with me now. He's been sleeping with me for a long time. It is what it is. And he was lying in the bed, and I woke up and I just looked at him, and I looked at him and I said, oh my God, Josh, this is not going to be good. And it took my breath away. I screamed and cried and cried and screamed, and he was holding my hand. I went through 8 hot water bottles on Saturday, from the morning to the evening. There's no point taking drugs because drugs don't touch it. No drugs touch it. I had 1 Brufen in the house, and I thought, for the crack, I'll give it a shot. It was like taking a sweet. It did nothing. So for the whole of Saturday, I puffed and panted like I was trying to birth something, like there's something really big inside and you want to push it out. So I'm, I really just need to get it out. And I go to the toilet over and over and over again just to see. I know there's nothing there. And it was loads of clots this time, huge amounts of clots in it. And it's such a weird, like you're knackered. I couldn't do anything for the day. There was nothing I could do. I went downstairs to make my hot water bottles and to make sure that Josh was fed and minded. Yeah. And he came back into bed with me every single time I went upstairs, and he watched movies on the laptop.
And can I just say something to you? Like what you were just saying there, that there's nothing that you can do for the day. Like imagine you're just lucky in a position that you can work from home and do all your work from home. But like those people who have to say, get up and go to work and show up, and they don't get time off work for periods and stuff, and that companies don't understand these, because maybe people might take the business and say, oh, I've got this or I've got this, whatever, and they haven't. But like to get up and to show up, and you were talking about that people with chronic illnesses have to get up, show up, feed their kids, bring their kids to school, do your everyday run, get them dressed, And no offense or anything, but sometimes husbands don't really comprehend.
Well, they don't. It's not offensive. They don't get it. Yeah. They don't get
Josh will not, because he's exposed to it and he sees like what you've gone through from a very young age. So Jesus, his wife or whatever, well nowadays it can be wife or boyfriend, whatever, that they're going to be so delighted to have somebody like Josh who is so empathetic and understanding when it comes to things like that.
For sure.
But like, imagine like how you wouldn't cope here if you had to go to work having these pains.
This is the thing, and I did. I used to have to go to whatever job I had when I had endometriosis when I was younger. I was running gyms, doing leisure centres, I set up my own gym up in Dublin, and it didn't make a difference. I had to go to work, and if you saw the sorry sight that I looked behind a desk, you'd just go, oh God, take her home, because she's not a good advertisement for the job. So I'd go into work and I'd sit there going, crying and panting and pushing, thinking that I was trying to give birth to something, with no effect of any drugs. So today, thankfully, the pains have started really easing. They were still, my whole pelvis and back locked on Sunday. So I went through all of Saturday, and I thought on Sunday I'd be fine, and then everything just seized and locked. I was walking like a duck waddling up through town, just trying to not move my pelvis too much so it wouldn't hurt. And then yesterday was much better, and today is much better again. Thankfully, for sure. And like, I don't know what's going to happen next month. And you can't focus on, if you spent your whole life worrying about what was going to happen with the pain that you're in, or with whatever it is that you're physically dealing with, you would never leave the house, and you would be in a chronic state of anxiety all of the time. The thing is, there are people who are in that state. There are people who have all of these hidden illnesses. There is a list as long as my arm. Autoimmune diseases are a real feckin' thing, and people don't see them. And you'll see people and hear people comment about people parking in a disabled space. And this is something that I see a lot online. So just because you don't have a blue sticker for your car and you park in a disabled space, you never know what someone is dealing with. So if you are in the absolute depths of your pain on a Tuesday, and you have to go to the healer, the guy who does the boots at the back of the Mill Street car park, and there's only a disabled space, right? I can tell you something, that if you park in that space, it's because you need to get to the shop that you need to go to as quickly and inconspicuously as possible. Because at any point during your walk, you might shout with pain, you might be in absolute agony, you might bump yourself, something might happen. You might fall over or pass out from the actual agony of it, so that you can get back into your car as quickly as possible and drive home and sit on your couch and put on your blanket and cry to yourself because you were in that much pain.
See, that will never happen, Ciara, because people will take advantage of that and just park in those places.
But that's the thing. There's always people that will do that. They're not even the people I'm worried about, because they're doing their thing, they're whatever. It's the judgment from others who don't understand that there are people that have these things. I'm not looking for sympathy. I don't need anybody's sympathy or anything like that. Empathy is a beautiful thing. To empathize with something is fantastic. But we don't come on here to talk about ourselves in order to get anyone's sympathy. We come on here to talk about things so that we can open the topics, so that people can actually start to realize that it's really important to talk about all of this kind of stuff. And when it comes to hidden things like this, to things that don't show on our physical body, I don't have a broken arm, I don't have a broken leg, I haven't hurt my back, I am not in a cast, I'm not in a wheelchair, I'm not disabled in any way that you could know to look at me. But there are times every single month where I am completely disabled in doing the things that I should be able to do normally.
Tasks,
completely. And so, I mean, I was in the chemist yesterday. I was in Tracy's chemist, and it was just slightly off the point, but not really. And I was looking through the chemist. I was waiting for Josh's drug that he had to take, and on the top shelf there was a little device by Nook. You know the bottles? No. They're bottles for baby bottles. They're called Nook. Well, they have a little device that you can insert into your vagina to work your pelvic floor muscles. I've never seen a chemist
is that like
advertise it. It's like the Kegel, but it's tiny. It looks like a vibrator. There, I said the word. And it's in a little egg timer shape, and you insert it, and it's got an elastic string on it, and then it vibrates while it's inside, so that it's actually working your pelvic floor muscles. And I had a conversation. Who knows? Could be good.
Talk about, yeah.
I was talking to the chemist and I was saying to her, you know, would you mind if I did a little piece on the fact that you have this in the chemist? I said, because it's really, really important that women's health and women's sexual organ wellness and internal organ wellness is really discussed more.
Because your whole wellness in all its entirety in your body is so important.
Of course it is. And you take one piece out because we don't want to talk about it and then we have massive issues. Yeah. So we talked a bit about endometriosis. We talked a bit about, you know, what's potentially available for it, and there's very little. We talked about, you know, what products and what kind of things work and can help while you're in that phase and stage of pain and whatever. And it was a lovely conversation to have, and she was very open about it and she was very forthright about it, and she said agreed, and she said that more things need to be spoken about like this. So it was really good to see that from a healthcare point of view, some of the people who are in healthcare, because a lot of them still don't want to talk, but from a chemist point of view, maybe that this person was really happy to actually have that discussion, because it needs to be talked about more. It really does. This kind of pain and this kind of issue needs to be discussed more so that people have a better grasp on what it is.
Do you think then, so in the likes of schools and that, you know, prior to younger girls getting periods and that they should discuss that, like, not periods aren't always so straightforward, and that this can happen and that can happen, and if you have these particular symptoms, like even say polycystic ovaries and stuff like that, that the only time really that you end up finding out about them is if you have pain,
or if you're hairy.
Well, if you're hairy, yeah. If you're really hairy, but if you're just averagely hairy, well, not average, but if you have a bit more hair, then you might pass any heat. But when you're trying to get pregnant and you're wondering why it's not happening, then it's discussed. Whereas I think there's some country, I think, that actually tests people when they have their periods, so that they know, like, when they're older, when they're going to try for kids, that they might come up against that, whatever. So I think that, like, it would be important in schools when they're doing whether sex education or just talking about periods, and educate them on all of these things.
Well, sex education is a whole other ballgame, because I definitely don't think that's touched on properly in schools. But when it comes to puberty, you're such a twat. When it comes to puberty, never apologise. Being you, it's all good. When it comes to puberty and it comes to learning about the body, you know, the way that it's taught is so feckin' archaic.
I got a book. My parents gave me a book. My mother gave me a book. And I don't know why she gave me a book, because I hate reading. So, like, I was never going to read. And it was so text heavy, so all I did was look at the pictures. But, like, back in the day, like, by the way, it's, no, I won't get into this now.
Wait for the next video.
Yeah. Okay. It's okay to be all shapes and sizes and all amount of hair or not.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. Carry on.
Puberty should be dealt with better. And yes, I absolutely agree. So when it comes to teaching girls about the potentials of what can happen when you have your period, we have this misguided idea that when we tell people something, it's going to make them scared. And it was the thing that I always used to be told about pregnancy. Oh no, sure, I wouldn't want to scare you if I told you all the details. Listen, I need to know the information so that I can be prepared beforehand. I don't care how sore it's going to be, because if I know how sore it's going to be, I can ready myself for that.
And you can't form your own opinion on whether you're going to use Tampax or pads, or whether you're, whatever, your own opinion on all of it. You can't form any opinion if you don't know all the facts.
If you don't know anything, exactly. So, like, tell girls that your periods can be painful. Some of them aren't. That you can get endometriosis. Some of you won't. That you may get polycystic ovaries. Some of you won't. That you could get adhesions. Some of you won't. Lots of you will, or lots of you won't. Like, explain, so that when you're that 11-year-old girl and you get your period and you're in absolute agony, you don't think you're crazy. You don't think you're absolutely losing your marbles at 11 years of age. And kids are getting their periods so much earlier. 8-year-olds are getting their periods now.
Why is that? Because we're evolving.
Well, for what reason? There's probably a whole, I don't know, the
I'm
science
trying to tell you something. So, you know, when you were saying, so Ciara's very, very open. I'm quite open, but maybe not to the extent that you are. Maybe.
You're very open with me.
Yeah, not necessarily to the public.
This is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. And so that if you wonder why Ciara takes the...
Will you put him in the kitchen, because he'll jump on Thelma?
Sorry.
Hang on, you've got a dog emergency. No. I know you love her, but
okay, hello.
Can you not?
Welcome to her page.
Can you love her?
Mind the plate, my phone. What's that? Oh, Jack.
There you go.
Hi, Josh.
Hello. Come on, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Bye, Jack. I love you. Oh, bless him. Such a beautiful boy. Yeah. Loves people. How was that? Feel violated? Go on anyway.
It's not the first dog to try and talk me. Not these days now, but back in the day. Yeah, so when you were saying, I'm kidding.
Oh, I love it.
I need to forget that I'm on live here. Anyway, so like when you said the word clots, like to me, I'm like, that's disgusting. And to talk about it, and then part of me is a bit ashamed, like a bit of, you know, God, you shouldn't be talking about that on live or whatever. And then I have to catch myself in that moment because we're obviously growing and learning about each other and what's right and what's wrong. And look, that's why we're doing these. So for me, there's a bit of shame and about talking about clots. Like when you mentioned it, then I had turned around and said to myself, I was thinking, God, Ciara, you shouldn't be talking about that online. And then but that's why we're here to talk. And so like, when was that made not okay to talk about? And it's important because I know that a girl that I was around one time was really scared because she did get clots. God, I feel awful talking about
it's just the word gets a bit like saying moist. Clot.
Okay,
it just doesn't sound. It's not a good word. Like they should have made a different word for what it is.
But it doesn't matter. No, it's not, because then that word then would be disgusting.
That's true.
It's just what it is. Anyway,
girl,
I don't like talking about clots, but anyways, but that does happen, and that we probably should talk about these kind of things because people do get scared. This girl that I was with did get scared. She's like I'm sorry now, this is disgusting. But I shouldn't have to apologize.
It's not disgusting.
Actually.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Yeah. That like she was standing up and literally I could see what was going on for her, and she's like, oh my God, what is this? And I was like, it's okay. I said, it's just a clot. She was kind of early stages in her period and that. And now I did actually read something lately that it's not good to be clotting all the time because it could be something else going on there. So I don't know enough about that to educate you guys on it. But yeah, so like that, if all of these things were discussed when you're getting your period or before you get your period, then you know what you're up against and you know what's normal and what's not normal and how to be with it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if it's done in school, because sometimes our parents, like we're different because we talk to our kids, right? And there is a generation of people who do talk to their kids. There's also a generation of people who don't. And that's just the way they are. And trying to change them, it's not going to happen. But when you talk to the kids and you explain to kids everything that they need to know, then at least when something happens for them, maybe their parents might be the people that'll explain it to them, but they'll already know, they'll have some sort of an education and a background, so they don't think that they're crazy or thick, because a lot of like that can happen. I'll give you a good one to finish off my little story. So here's something that I bet nobody told anyone before, because it was news to me.
Oh my God, I'm actually nervous right now.
I was using tampons and everything seemed to be fine. But I got my period this 1 month about 1.5 years or 2 years ago. And if Leanne is watching, Leanne will know that this is the truth. And I popped in the tampon and I headed off around my business. And I went.
They're awful hard to use in fact.
Oh, they're horrible. They're horrible.
And they're sore.
But at least it was tidy. And it when I'm training in karate and I'm wearing a white suit, a tampon is going to be a lot better than wearing a pad. So I was in Carrickdon and I felt this wave of weirdness come over me, and there I was, gone on the floor of Carrickdon upstairs.
Kidding me.
So I came to and decided it was probably a good idea to go to the doctor. And I went up to Dr. Collins at the time and I walked in the door and she said, what's wrong? You look really white. And I explained that I'd passed out. And she looked at me and she went, have you your period? And I went, I do. And she goes, are you wearing a tampon? I said, I am. She said, go to the toilet right now and take it out. So I did, and I came back to her and she goes, you can never wear a tampon again. And I went, why not? She goes, hop up there. I just want to check something.
You're allergic to something.
I have an excited cervix.
So you're basically excited in every shape and form of
I'm me to the core.
You just came into this word excited.
I did. It just took my clitor or my cervix. Oops. My cervix a while to catch up with it. Like, honest to God. Never mind. So, finding out I had an excited cervix was an exciting day. And she said that what happens when the tampon goes in, it hits my cervix, my blood pressure plummets and I faint. So her following sentence was really funny. You can't put anything unnatural up there. Good, thanks very much. That's good. So just imagine for a second that your education, right? Your education around puberty, periods, sex education, whatever, covered these kind of unusual circumstances. Totally, I might be the only one in the whole town that has an excited cervix. I don't even know. It's not a conversation that I have often with people. But if I'm the only one to have it, I'm still that one person. What if there's a young girl who's about to get her period and she doesn't know?
It's considered private business. Like in some countries, they don't even talk about periods. It's a shame to have periods. You know, they're shamed by having a period even. So it's about private business, and don't be telling anybody about that.
And how cool is it that in some tribes the women are
like in the red tent?
They're sent off.
Yeah,
to
check
where
the red
all
tent.
Menstruate. Well, they all menstruate together, and they come up with all of the wisdom around what the tribe needs to do next. They make all the decisions for the tribes. They're left to menstruate. Everyone is menstruating at the same time. They mind each other. They care for each other. The men don't make any decisions. The women come back and they say, right, we have decided that this is what's going to happen next. I'm not knocking men. I'm saying that imagine a society that embraces something natural that a woman goes through and sees it for what it is, which is a time of...
Well, it's when a teenager becomes like a woman.
Yeah.
When a child becomes a woman. And so in those kind of places, they celebrate it. Like there's, I don't know where it is, in Africa or somewhere, that when a young girl gets her period, that like this is like the opposite, like the far polar opposite. The whole village celebrates this woman getting her period because they see it as she's now become this woman, and like
and all it's wisdom.
And also it's basically setting us up to procreate. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's an amazing thing in ways. It's a gift.
Doesn't feel like it, but yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, some don't get pain and some do. You know.
Yeah.
But I read something else lately actually that was very interesting, that, you know, like we were talking about the shame with sometimes with periods and that if you leak, as they say, and it goes on your bed or it goes on your trousers or some specific thing that you're wearing, and there's huge shame about that. Oh my God, like I leaked. A bit like, say, if you're breastfeeding, it's not even as bad, but if you leaked on your top from breast milk or whatever. But
you're supposed to be embarrassed about that.
Yeah, but embarrassed about as well that you like had a leak in your trousers, but there's blood. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I've done that. And big deal. If we all discussed it more and didn't see it as private business, it is private in some ways, but it's so natural. We're not normalizing periods if we're going to like make them all this like private conversation that we're meant to have at home and don't talk about it in public.
No, it's silly.
We have to normalize it.
We have to normalize a lot of things. Helena said usually a 10-year delay in getting a diagnosis of endo. Yeah, and that's such a load of muck, isn't it? Let's see, my 21-year-old was told last year to have lots of babies by a consultant in Hungary. That was last year. That's nuts.
That's crazy.
That's really nuts.
That's crazy.
Thanks, Helena. Fabergé eggs. Yes, they are. That's my eggs. They're Fabergé eggs. They're priceless. They come from the Ming Dynasty. I like it. Hello to everybody who's watching. Helena, down below, physio in Donegal does great stuff on pelvic care. Endo brings spasm. I might have a look at that. Thanks, Helena. Elena does a lot of sex ed for adults. Love it. Autonomic nervous system, hyperstimulation, cervix. so I'm glad somebody knows all about my sensitive or excited cervix. It makes for very interesting months, Elena, and maybe I'll just leave it at that.
I thought you were going to say topics.
I'm saying nothing. I'm saying nothing else. We'll have a conversation on the nothing that we're not talking about right now.
So nothing that you can do to give advice about what anybody can take or do or to help alleviate the pain or nothing. Nothing.
Well, it's one of these things that's so personal. It's not like when you break your leg and the same care is given to everyone when you break your leg. It's a really individual process when you get into endometriosis. There are huge similarities from case to case, but what works for each person can be completely different.
Okay.
So somebody lying in a bed rolled in a ball with their hot water bottle and somebody rubbing their back might work for 5 minutes for some person, and it might work for 20 for another, and it might not work at all for somebody else.
Do you know what might work? I don't know. TENS machine.
Nothing. So nothing takes away the pain of it, because it's like a, I don't know, you don't have to go through it. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Yeah, it's not just it, like, it, you know, comes back to everything, that if you haven't walked in that person's shoes, 100%. You really don't have a clue.
100%. And it's funny because men are funny around it as well. Like men, I feel for them in a way because they don't know how to be around someone who's in pain, female pain. And so their go-to sentence, and it even happened this morning, their go-to sentence is, yeah, something will come up and you'll be all right. And you're kind of looking going, oh man, if you knew how much I wish that was the case, it would be so good. But it isn't until something actually gets found or something is used to deal with it. But what they have said is that you can have a hysterectomy. So that's also good. So you can get pregnant or have a hysterectomy. But I didn't realise that you can't have a hysterectomy in Ireland unless you, A, are over a certain age, and B, get your husband's permission. What? A friend of mine went, stop. I'm not kidding you, she went to the hospital and she said that she was done. She needed to have a hysterectomy for whatever reason. I can't even remember what it was. And they said to her, we need to get your husband's permission first. And she looked at them like they had 10 heads and she went, it's not his decision, it's mine. And they said, but what if he wants to have more kids down the line? And she was like, hello, my body, I'd like to have it.
Can I tell you a funny story? It's a little bit different, but it's kind of like the way like men, even like male surgeons, are just look at the way like women should do things, the way men should. So a friend of mine is after having 4 kids, right? She had sections with all of them. And she went into the gynecologist and he said to her, say her name is
Mary Agnes.
Mary Agnes. And he's like, no, Mary Agnes. He says, the best thing for you to do now is tie your tubes while I'm down there, because you're open anyway, so we'll just tie your tubes. And she was like, no, I'm not going to tie my tubes. And he was like, but you cannot get pregnant again because you'll have 5 sections and that's not good for you. Best thing for you, tie your tubes while I'm down there. And she goes, no, I'll send my husband in and he can tie his tubes. And he goes, Mary Agnes, be good to your husband. He give you 4 children.
But sure, what's he going to need?
And she was like,
if she can't have any more kids.
She was like, I was very good to my husband. Yes, I gave him 4 children. Yeah. And he said, but he has to take a day off work, come in, have a procedure done. He says that like, you're there anyway, I just tie the tubes, it's done. And she goes, well, God love me to take a day off work. No, I don't think so.
Oh my Lord.
Imagine. Like, God love the husband.
You'd be raging. Wouldn't you be raging lying there?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I know.
And then I was talking to a girl a few days ago and her husband got it done. They have 2 kids and they're that bit older now and they don't want to take the chance on whatever anyway. So they just said that he's going to go in for the snip. And she was like, it's got nothing to do with the penis. I said it, Ciara.
Yay! Evolving. I love it.
And she said they just go in and she said behind the scrotum they just go snip, snip. And they get an injection initially into their scrotum, and I don't know how painful that is, but they get snip, and then they come out. And then she said they can't have sex for a few weeks or something like that, and they can check 6 months later to see if it actually properly worked and that they can't have any more kids or whatever. But like, imagine for him to say like, oh God love your husband, he'd have to take the day off work and get this job done. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
It's a man's world, it really is. It really is. But it does make you laugh, does it, Helena? Yeah, excruciating pain, nothing touches it. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So,
is there anything you want to finish up with now?
Yeah, so the whole thing with the hysterectomy, they say you can have a hysterectomy, so that's removing the lot, and I suppose that's when the pain is that bad. I even thought about it this morning, I thought about it yesterday as well, and I was thinking to myself, you know, I have one amazing kid, and I don't genuinely think that I want to have more kids. So would I consider a hysterectomy if that was the only thing that would get rid of the pain? Absolutely. I would 100% do it, because for the 20 hours that I went through pain on Saturday, I'd absolutely get rid of that 100% if I knew that it was going to work. And
what's
the other
side effects then of having hysterectomy? You know, because then that space is gone. Well, yeah, I know, but that space is gone then, and how's your... I don't know, that's not the topic for another time maybe, but...
Maybe we could get somebody on who might do that. Maybe Helena would come on actually and talk. Would you come and have a chat with us, Helena? She's amazing. You'd love her.
Yeah.
Oh, I met her at the last event I did. She's such a kind, gentle person. I love it. And she gives great hugs too. Hey Siobhan, how's it going? Hey Anya, hey Aoife, hey everybody. We'll go back through and say our hellos. So the other thing that they talk about is having it cut out. So having the endometriosis cut out.
Would that come back again?
Well, when they go in to see it, you see, it depends on where it's kind of got its tentacles.
Oh, weren't you saying to me as well to remind you that they go in and look at it at the time that you have it? Do you remember you said that was important? So is that around what you're going to talk about now?
Possibly. I think I've probably forgotten that, early onset of all that stuff. Dementia, Alzheimer's, that's it, isn't it? Old-timers. I remember people used to call it that. No, we're still young. It's okay. So where it has all of its tentacles, they'd have to go in and they'd have to have a look and see what they could cut out. But you also have to remember that if they do, and it's around an ovary or it's around a fallopian tube, and they can't actually take that out, they'd have to take the egg, the fallopian tube, the ovary as well, if they couldn't get it out.
That's crazy. It's like the blob.
Yeah.
And just take over.
Remember, people used to call the period your blob.
Oh, yeah.
Blob.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, Barf, you're embarrassing me. You love to, my dears.
I have to go.
Don't get sick. It's all good. You're awesome. So yeah, so that's the kind of story all around endometriosis. And I think for anyone who's going through it, for anyone who has been through it, for anyone who has any suggestions, for anyone who has any information, please come on and tell us, because I'd love to know.
Yeah.
And anyone with endometriosis would probably love to know. And it's great to be able to share stories. And the moral of my story is I am going to continue looking to see if I can find things that work. And if they don't, a hysterectomy is most definitely on the cards. But I have a few more people to talk to before I get to that stage to see if I can come up with any answers. And in the meantime, if I can help anybody who has endometriosis, if you want to come and have a chat, if you want to sit with me on the day 1 of your period and you want me to rub your back or do the whole hot water bottle thing, I feel you, I get you, I'm there. Or if you want to have a chat, phone me or send us a message.
You can Skype them or whatever.
Yeah, we can do a Zoom
Yeah, so
call.
if you just want to comment below and let us know what it is that you have gone through. You never know, it might just help even one person to kind of help them in their situation, you know. And it's just good to be open and have these chats and just to normalize things. Like it's normal in some sense, you know. Unfortunately, we have to go through these things as women, not all of us, but yeah, just come on here and comment below and let us all help each other out.
Exactly. Happy days, lovely chatting to you all. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all on Friday on Thelma's channel. Oh yeah, Thelma Gibbons, That's Life. Check it out on Facebook. If you put it in with an @ sign and Thelma Gibbons, That's Life, it should pop up for you. We're going to be there on Friday and we're going to be talking about
fibromyalgia, which is my lovely friend.
Fun day. Okay.
Okay.
All
Have
right.
a lovely day.
Mwah.
Take care.
Loads of love, guys.
Bye.
Bye.